A warm good evening to all our dear viewers. Hope you've had a good day. First and foremost, I want to appreciate you all for watching us. Whoever spares time to watch the Holy Drive, I love you so much. You are the reason to why I'm always back on your screens to bring to you the best. And as usual tonight, I still promise to deliver to my best. I want to wish happy birthday to whoever was born in the month of October. Happy birthday, the babies of this month. I can't forget to wish happy birthday to a wonderful lady by the names of Harriet Aroho. Happy birthday. May you live to blow more candles. Of course, big upon her suits at California Plaza, Smart Fit at Capital Center, and Parkview Level 5 Damas. They are the guys who make me look wonderful on set. I love you guys so much. And of course, my producers, Mose and Hafiz. Well, thanks very much for the work that you do. I love you so much. I am back with the Holy Drive. Holy Drive is an amazing show. Holy Drive, we dig deeper into people's different lives, where they have come from, where they are, the things God has done for them. And as usual tonight, I am humbled to be hosting a wonderful guest for you. But before I talk about the guest I have for you, can subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Holy Drive. It's one of supporting us and showing us that you really love us and you follow us. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm once again honored to be hosting an amazing woman. A lady, I don't know how I can describe her. She is one of the few ladies we celebrate in this country. She is a politician. On top of that, she is a wonderful lady. She is a lady with a very big heart. She has touched many lives. She has been a blessing to very many people. She has taken care of many children, taken care of very many people that have lost hope. We love you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to be hosting the one and only Minister of State for Health in charge of primary health care, and she doubles as a member of parliament for Fort Portal North Division. If I bring her on board, I'll take a small break. When I return, I'll bring her on board. And of course, we are visiting at our offices today. I've already spoken about you. Maybe you can give us a brief introduction about yourself and we proceed.
Yes, my name is Margaret MUHANGA. I am a member of parliament for Fort Portal North Division. I also work as the Minister of State for Health in charge of primary health care. I am married with children. I'm a journalist. For the beginning of my life, I worked as a journalist, but I also did a lot of studies in international relations, development studies, so I transited into a development consultant. And I have done many projects for countries outside Uganda and here in Uganda. Yes, most of them about the development of women development and empowerment.
So you're married, I feel like you're married. How do you balance that too? You're here working, you're married, you have family, you have children.
My children are not very young. They are in 20s and the last one is 16. So a little older. And each of them is living on their own continent and making their own life.
Wow, thank God for that. The honorable I'm having for you this evening, she still looks young. Actually, I'm surprised that she has children already old. I think we thank God for that, for keeping you safe, right? So very healthy. Tell us come up. Maybe briefly this show will host different personalities from different walks of life. What about their life, where they've come from, where they're going, the things they're grateful for. Briefly can tell us about where you come from, your background. Please, Madam Abeduze, I've seen you when I'm in Kampala, when you're already a member of parliament. People don't know about you, where you come from, your background, briefly.
Oh, I come from Kanyandahi.
Kanyandahi.
Kanyandahi, I think, is the most prominent village north of the Sahara and the Sahara. So we grew up in a household of 14 children of my parents. We are now all big people. 4 of us have left the world, 10 of us are still alive. grew up as herds people. There's nothing I don't know how to do when it comes to looking after cows.
Wow.
From the time we were born, including even my mother's grandchildren who have lived with her in Canada, they were all taught how to milk, whether you're a girl or a boy. We were taught how everything, every chores to do with cows. The only thing I remember is that we didn't learn how to dig because we didn't have any time for it. The cows were too many. My father was one of the first people to take up exotic cows. So that's how we grew up. My parents were very hardworking. My father was a civil servant, but at some point he retired before he reached retirement age just to concentrate on his cows and grow his farm, because that was our main source of income, more than the job he was doing, so he needed to concentrate on it. What I can say is that we lived in plenty. I think growing up in the village is very advantageous. My mother was well educated, and so she knew how to give us a balanced diet. She had studied as a stenographer. And I think she was the first person to work as the king's, she would type the king's special letters.
Wow.
Because she grew up in the palace with her auntie who was married to the king of Toro, then Rukidi, and then she was taken to be taught how to type. So the first typewriters, I think, that came to the palace, she was the first person to operate it, and also type the king's special letters.
Being a lucky family. Very, very lucky. So how are your siblings doing? The 10 was still living. Are they doing well?
Some have retired, others still working. Many of us are still working actually.
Still active.
Just two retired. One used to work in Kenya, he came back here. He's now retired in Fort Portal. His children are all over the city. The other one is still in Kenya. My other brother is in Canada. There are those in the military, two are in the military.
Everyone has just been promoted. Well, I think, how do you feel when you look back where you grew up from, and look at your family excelling? Because I've heard your story. It's like God has blessed you. How do you feel about that?
I don't think we are really a very, very special family. But you know, there are those values and virtues that your parents teach you that shape your life. For instance, each of us was taught how to work hard. Nothing has come easy for any one of us. If you know the genesis of any of my brothers or my sisters, although we are few girls, we are only 4 girls with 10 boys, so we are just 3 girls remaining. Each of us is very hardworking. We never despised anything, because we grew up working so hard, and our parents were telling us this is what shapes people. We had a lot of workers at home, over 30 workers that are employed in the farm.
Wow.
But with all those workers, and 2 in the household, but my father would never let the workers do everything for us. He would say, you also need to participate and see, you know how these chores go. You have to do them yourself and appreciate. But still, the children that are there, or one of my nephews who went back to stay on the farm and keep it after my parents passing on, still works alongside them. He does everything. He can milk, he can carry the milk to town on his truck. So
how did you eventually start studying?
We started there in the local schools. For me, my school was near our home. The classes got finished, and they took me to town to start P4 in Cabarole Primary School. I was very stubborn, so I moved to like 3 or 4 primary schools.
Just in primary?
Just in primary.
Were they expelling you?
From there, I went to St. Edward's Bukumi in Hoima district, that now Kumiro district right now. I was very stubborn, I remember, because I didn't even finish from there. I left in senior 3, went to Fort Portal, sat O-level, and then went to Nyakasura School for 2.
Wow. You see, I'm not doing that. Whenever I used to meet Nyakasura students, they used to put to boys used to putting on that's ice cards.
Kilts.
And we could laugh at them.
But they are very smart.
Very smart, but
because the founder was from Scotland, and that is the Scottish uniform. Up to today, that's what they wear.
yeah, and they are very unique. I was at
Very
Smart.
unique indeed.
I was at Smart back then. So I used to make Nyakaso in the beds. I used to look at these kids and I could laugh.
Boys in skirts.
One time we were versing them, we looked at boys on skirts. These boys or girls. This one, Miss L told me, these are boys, that's their uniform. And they learned from that day, I never called them skirts anymore. And up to now.
Called kilts.
Yeah, cute. Wow. So what are
kilts?
Scottish, yeah. So what are some of the hardships you encountered while growing up as a young girl, deep in the village? What were those challenges?
I told you we grew up in plenty. I first saw people hustling when I got out of Kanyanga to go to town. For instance, there's a time when we were in P6 with my brother, the one I followed, he lives in Canada. And they brought us tea, black tea. We had never seen black tea, and we were in P6, both of us. We looked at it, we gave it. My brother I had never heard about it, but my brother had never heard about it and had never seen it. He knew that milk tea. So he gave it back to the people where we had visited and said, we cannot take soup from our cup. And then they asked us, why? I said, and I actually told him that this is black tea. In case you don't know, there's also tea without milk and this one. So we learned from then. And when I went to Senior 1 in St. Edward's, it was the first time to see posho being served to people. I thought it was food, I'm sorry to say, food for the dogs.
No.
Because I would see at home the things we
No,
eat.
life was
Growing up in the village, you are growing up in plenty. Rice was eaten only on Easter and Christmas. Because the food is there. There's matoke, there's Irish, we even make balls out of Irish. So we had a lot of food. My mother would grow carrots, pineapples. So many things were just there and we took it for granted that everybody has got plenty. But when they served posho, I wrote to my father a letter telling him that here where you sent me, they are serving dog food to human beings. And I cannot believe it. So he went and read it at the making site and told the farmer that there are workers. Then most of them were in Rwanda, from Rwanda before they went back to Rwanda. And we used to call their place where they live. Even now we call it Kigali, where our workers live. So he went and read that letter and said, I am so surprised that they are serving dog food to humans. And he said, I can't believe Margaret has never tasted posho because they have never cooked it at home. The only thing maybe which I knew is that they can make porridge out of it, but not a meal. So I was surprised and I wrote to my father, I said, here they are serving dog food.
And did your father attend to you?
Yes, my father wrote back. He said, your siblings who have already been in secondary school have ever eaten posho, so it's a meal.
Wow.
It's not dog food. But during that time, I think also the economic situation was not good. It was being vegetable, and the beans were full of weevils. So we just needed to adopt. So when I left home and went to secondary school, that's when I started appreciating that really growing up in a rural setup is quite a good thing. It's not bad. I started seeing struggling families that were struggling to put food on the table. And yet for us, food would be in plenty on a day. Then I first saw cassava flour. They were making a meal out of cassava flour. All those things were traumatizing me. You see, I have learned a lot of things. There's an MP called Helen Asamo. I told her that I had never seen a grass-thatched hut. And I am not young, so I grew up in the late 80s and 90s, but there were no grass-thatched huts in our village or in our district. In many places I went to, I never saw a grass-thatched hut. And so when I moved out of Fort Portal, started traveling the countryside, the country, especially the east and the north, and I saw grass-thatched huts. I was like, why do people live in this like this? Why can't they build houses and then put iron sheets? And Grace, as someone laughed a lot and said she has heard it from many people. who had not traveled that side of the world to see that there are breast challenges actually in some areas. So because we were not moving, you were just static, you are at home, from there you go to school and back home. There wasn't a lot of opportunities of people moving everywhere, because even transport alone was difficult.
Wow, what a story. So how did you eventually maneuver the struggle? You reached campus, doing journalism?
Yeah, you just go through
because you're from a village, I imagine you're from a remote place like what you've spoken about. You find yourself, I don't know, can maybe briefly tell us about that?
But my father was working in towns, so he would take us to towns. He would even travel abroad and come and tell us stories of where he has been. Even if he told us he has been in Nairobi, I would say, oh, where is that? I think he's been to the moon. Then they would tell us stories of Kampala. There are so many cars in Kampala, and in the village there aren't many cars, tall buildings, I hear what. But we would also travel, go and see places, and but the most important is that he wanted us to have a good education. So all through he would take us to good schools, everybody got an education to whatever you wanted, and we never lacked fees because of those cows.
I know.
Actually, my husband says, how come you are not so much interested right now? And yet they are the ones that paid your school fees. I tell him, not that I'm not so much interested, but that I'm more exposed.
I know.
I grew up in that setup. Now I know that people can own buildings, people can own other things rather than cows, and they can also be a source of wealth.
Yeah.
You really don't have to have cows in order for you to be wealthy, because for him, he still believes cows are very essential. Every homestead, every household must have some cows, because he was educated by cows, and so was I. So he said these days we can educate through other means. We don't have to go back to this tradition.
The old one. So how was the first experience you moved to Kampala? Like from village, you came imagining. I think I had a lot of imaginations in your head.
Actually, Kampala, when we were still young, would come and tell us how there are many cars. So when I was coming to Kampala, I looked for clothes because I couldn't get it. I borrowed the one that they wanted to borrow. I stole them so that I can reach Kampala and also look cool. But when I reached Kampala, I was very disappointed.
No.
I think Museveni had just taken over power. Kampala was really a village. When I look at it now, I see a lot of changes. This government has transformed the country. Because even in the countryside where I grew up, you go there right now, there are even storage buildings that we had never seen when we were growing up. I think our home was the best in the village, and people from weddings would come to take pictures from our house. They would come to take pictures. My mother used to grow roses. So I would see people taking pictures, touching flowers, taking pictures, but they would be walking from the church. And so there is a lot of transformation that has happened in this short time. I think beginning 2000, because even in the 90s, life wasn't so nice, but beginning 2000s, when all the wars ended, you can see that the transformation was fast.
Wow.
To where we are today.
I'm trying to cut short questions because of time. I know you have a lot of programs. How did you eventually now venture into journalism, eventually go into politics? And I guess you're very young.
In fact, when I was a journalist, I was working with New Vision. And during that time, I was reporting from Parliament. So I was a political writer. So I would be in Parliament and say, but really, I think it doesn't take so much guts to be a member of Parliament as well educated. I had a degree, now I have 2 master's degrees.
Wow.
But at that time, I had a diploma also in journalism. So that's how I practiced journalism for that long. So I felt like I needed to help people, because coming from that rural setup, I needed to raise a lot of other people. And I have done that together with my brothers. Each of us has taken people from our village. Those ones that we remember were really unprivileged. They have doctors now. I have people I have trained, their pharmacists. There's a guy I took up from a classmate I was with in primary who stopped, I think, around P4, who is now a computer scientist. So we wanted to help other people. Up to today, there are many other families that we tried to pick a child from them and help. So
God bless your band.
They go back and develop our village.
Become rich and then not even
We
rich.
are not rich.
Okay, not rich, but it's a heart, I know. You have a very big heart. I wish everyone could adopt the same character. We can help very many people in this country to also live a bit. May God bless you for that and appreciate you in a very special way. I even saw it before coming here. I've really been seeing it behind the scenes. You're a very amazing lady. So how has the general politics been, Madam Honorable? Was living journalism, but they didn't have the dream of becoming a politician at any moment when you're growing up back then, as a young little girl. It just came up.
I told you I was very stubborn when I was growing up. So somehow in class, in school, I would always be this first victim. And it is a strength they would pick me. She must be the ring leader. And when I was chased from St. Edward's, I actually met my headmaster this year. And I told him I never did anything. It's just that everybody knew I was stubborn. And that's why I ended up being called a ring leader and chased from the school. But I remember one day our school truck was packed and I think was going to Nkoko. Nkoko is like 15 kilometers out of St. Edward's, in Kakumiro district. So I went behind a lorry, as in senior 2, and sat behind a tipper. I don't know where it was going, but it started and went to a very far away place, and then I had people throwing firewood into the lorry. Then I actually had to scream before they hit me with one of the logs. So the man climbed the turnboy and said, "What are you doing? Aren't you a student? What are you doing on the lorry?" I said, "I just had climbed on the lorry, then it started and I couldn't get off."
You're very stubborn.
They got me, put me in front and took me to the deputy headmaster. Here he passed on and they caned me for first of all claiming the lorry. What was I looking for on the lorry? So I was telling my headmaster, Brother Peter, what I went through and how I was chased for doing nothing.
And actually, I think when at Parliament, you were very stubborn when you were journalist at Parliament, right?
When I was a journalist, I was still a little stubborn. You know, now a lot of things change. And so we withdrew all journalists from Parliament because we wanted to be accorded some decent office, facilities where we could sit to write our stories. And that time it wasn't as easy as now. There was no WhatsApp. It wasn't easy for you to relay the office. Just at the New Vision, you had to go back to the office and start typing. Right? And so we needed an office where we could write the story and then email it, because that was the only way. So when the parliamentary commission that time did not listen to us, we withdrew journalists for a week. We put the house on blackout.
Led by Honorable
Yes, led by me, and I have pictures with the late Honorable Francis Ayume. He was the speaker then. He called us and we met him. He accorded us a very good reception and gave us an office where current parliamentary journalists sit.
The struggle began many years ago. You've been a freedom fighter. Wow. So, madam, many people have excelled in life. Many have attained the so-called riches. Some have attained, many things I may say, not even being rich, but being living maybe in a better life, if I may say. But many are not satisfied or contented. Madam Honorable, are you satisfied with where you are or contented?
I am actually content. Wow. I don't even ask God for anything. Because, let me tell you, this life is not about things, money and things of the world. We need basics on which to survive. If you can have a roof on top of your head, if you can have school fees for your children, if you can afford health care, I think that's enough. You don't have to own skyscrapers and ships and boats and aircraft in order for you to get fulfillment. Fulfillment will come from your heart. Most importantly, your relationship with God alone is important. And your will to see other people get better is very, very key. Because if you can afford a meal every day and there's somebody who can't, if you can afford fees for your children and somebody cannot, why wouldn't you give someone something to rise on? You know, life teaches a lot of challenges. Like I told you, when I was growing up, I took everything for granted. I knew everybody had fees. But when I grew up, I saw people who couldn't afford fees. They were dropping out of school. I could see that there were people who had no food, and we grew up in plenty. Then I wonder, why didn't they come to Kanyanda and eat? Because we would sometimes bring down a matoke, and even the cows wouldn't eat them. You can imagine how cows were satisfied there. Because the land was vast. If you go to Kanyanda, my father went there when it was really remote. So expanded his land and expanded his farm. And so we lived on that farm thinking everything was a given.
I admire your character so much. Madam Honorable, following the research I've made about you, a few findings I've made, even from what you're just speaking, you're a lady with a very big heart. Many people have been blessed by you. I know you've sacrificed a lot for the well-being of other people. What pushes you to have such kind of character that differs from very many people that are in your category, if I may say?
Yeah, I think it's my parents. When we were growing up, we were 14 children. My father and my mother had other children that they looked after. Some of them even went to Rwanda. Yeah, they were not even Ugandans, but my mother would pay their fees and say, this is a bright kid who has come here to look for a job, to just work. Let me put him back in school. So when the RPF was starting, some of them actually went to Rwanda. But even our relatives, even children of villagers, my mother, up to the time of her death, she had friends who were 8 years, 10, that she was looking after. And some of them, we had to take them up for them to finish school. And remember, she wasn't young. In her old age, she was still looking after people and looking up for people who had talent and help them, like go through school. Or start up a business. If somebody cannot go to school, he would say, you can do business. You look like you are a hands-on person. Then she says, okay, start this business. And you would see that the businesses she's talking about are like small peasant businesses. But some of those people are now big-time business people, thriving and very happy that she pulled their hand.
Wow.
And also my father looked after so many people. I remember when he passed on, there are many people who are writing from all over the world. Others are in the US, others are in Canada, others are in... all over the world. People were writing and said, he's the one who helped me through school, he did this for me.
Wow.
So I think we took after them, that in spite of the many children they had, they really reached out to others. Maybe they would have had more, but they said it's better to help others than to accumulate so much, and then you are not leaving the world a better place. I can imagine, because we saw their struggles and how they were looking after so many kids, because we would even write things like that we wanted in school. My father would chop them because there was another child of somebody who needed.
You ever imagine you become the Muhanga we're celebrating today in this nation? Or you were just taken by surprise?
Nothing took me by surprise. Because of what I've told you, we were born, my parents would tell us never to look back, but look forward. That whatever you do, if you go to study, read hard. If you go to work, be the best. Do the best you can do in every assignment you take. Make sure you do the best out of it. So I have been a pusher, like a go-getter. If you start something, please get it. And make sure you transform whatever you are doing, let it be better than how you found it.
Wow.
So from then on, really, I have been pushing for every sector I go to, I want it to get better. More than what I found.
That's the urge to become a better person.
And also to make better, this country has a lot of problems that need urgent attention.
I know.
The first one is explosion of numbers. I don't call it population growth anymore, because we are having too many young people and depending on very few older people.
I know.
A big population has its advantages, but you need quality population, not quantity in numbers. So we have to tackle that issue, and as urgently as we can.
Definitely. I have heard your story, madam. Whom do you attribute your success to?
I have to say my parents, yes. Because, I don't know, I can't say they were super parents, but support, family support is very important. In everything you do, you must have some family support. Because even now, I anchor a lot on my family and my social network. Without which, I don't know where I would be. Really, my family, we support each other so much. And also, the social systems I have built, social security systems I've built over the years. I've made friends, honest friends, fair weather friends. Along the way, you meet a lot of people. But there are those that are really dedicated friends who would pull you, even if I wasn't in this office, they would still look for me. Genuine friends. There are many, they are there. Wow. Some of them are very old, older than me. Wow. But I can tell you that they picked me up, like a person like General Jim DOESN. He picked me up when I was a very young person. He really took care of me when I came to Kampala. He became like his child, his family. General Tafire, anything they have to do, they have to call me. I'm not in their age bracket. I'm not a general. I am not anything. But you find I have such dependable friends. Dependable friends that even if something happened to me today, they will come in handy. Wow. Then there are younger people I have met also. Those some of them in my age bracket. Miss Williams, Betty Amongi, Peter Guang, Frank Molaze, Thomas Tayewa. That we met when we were young, but with Thomas Tayewa and Frank, but we have grown into old people now, but successful but people. Still successful. I don't know what success means. Maybe to be a speaker is successful, but or to be a minister, but I don't know. It's relative. But we have really built a social network of honest people. Even if I called now, Frank and told him my leg is hurting, he would reach me in 2 minutes. Do I really have a problem? Because I don't just call. And also I would thank the president who picked me from among many people to give me an assignment here at the Ministry of Health. I have worked with him for a very long time. I first met him when I was 11 years. Wow, when I was a very little girl. Because my mother was an activist in UPM, my father was in UPC. So I saw Museveni, he was a young man, and my father would say, but why are you with this young man? Asking my mother. And my mother would say, this young man has a vision. The people you are with are not taking us anywhere. So my mother would be everywhere, like campaigning for Museveni, and no wonder some of my brothers went to the bush, and when Museveni lost elections, and here we are. Wow, the same example. So, Madam Honorable, can you show us a few things that God has done for you and forever be grateful? God is really great. I'm very grateful to God, the things He has done for me. First of all, the life alone. It's very important to have life. Every breath we take is a gift from God. God has given me a family. I have my own family, my own children, and my husband, a nuclear family. But I also have an extended family, nieces, cousins, nephews, aunties and uncles, and a family of friends, like I said, who I depend on, who I rely on, who have been there for me. I actually forgot to mention a man called Professor Penmogi. You know him? Professor Penmogi now is at the Uganda Land Board, but he used to be the Vice Chancellor of Bulu University. He was also a member of Parliament in the 6th Parliament. I met him there, we made friendship, and up to today. Wow. Professor Penmogi. Wow. Maybe you can give us your last remarks, your send greetings to your people, and sign off. Especially my friends, my family members, people of Fort Portal North who gave me the mandate to represent them in the 11th Parliament, and people of Toro in general, and Ugandans. I read a lot and I watch documentaries. I read a lot of books, some of them fiction, others science. I read across the board. and I like reading a lot, and there are too many books to say in my head, because every day I have
And
to
you
read about it.
cook also. That's very good.
Yeah, I do cook. My children say I don't cook often, but that when I cook, my food is
It's the
really nice.
best. And you're also a good dancer, I'm told.
I do dance once in a while.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much, Madam Honorable, for giving us the opportunity to for you to share, for us to have you on set to share your story with some other people that would love to hear or listen to your story. You know, people see you up there, they think it was just automatic, but it was a journey, it was a process. And how I pray God can keep on lifting you higher and higher, because you're a very excellent woman. You're a very passionate woman, you love God, you love helping people, and I think it's something great that we really celebrate you for. We've come to the end of the show. I want to appreciate you who have been watching this from the beginning till the end. I want to appreciate my guests that I've been having on the set, Madam Honorable Margaret Muhanga. And of course, I can't also forget to appreciate my producer, Mose and Hafiz, who have been behind the scenes, capturing me on set.
Yes, madam.
And the people that designed me on set. Of course, I can't forget to appreciate Hash at California Plaza, Musa at Capital Center RD15, and Damas at Parkview Level 5. Thank you for watching us. It's been a pleasure having you on this show. I remain one and only Jimmy Hanks. I love you all. Thanks for loving us. Go on subscribing to our YouTube channel in case you're unable to watch this show on TV. I love you all. I always say life is life is a mystery. And the life we live is full of ups and downs. But one thing I know, God never promised us to live a smooth life, but He promised us that I'll be with you in the darkest moments. So one thing I know is that at the end of the day, not all hope is lost. Just hold on and keep on pushing on with life. And I know at the end of the day, there will be something great. I love you all. Until next time, akumei hata kumi na mpenda.